Is the nearly 4-year-old 2018 iPad Pro still worth it in 2022? Let's check it out. This iPad was released in November of 2018. I've had this one since November of 2019, and this is an amazing iPad. So I got the Space Gray 256GB model, and it's got a good bit of wear on it. It's actually had two owners, me and my mom. Since when I got a 2020 iPad Pro in 2020, I gave this to my mom, but I ended up trading back since I didn't really like the 2020 for a good amount of reasons. While the Geekbench score is not as good as my iPhone, it's still pretty good, and my MacBook just goes crazy and beats both of them by a long margin. This can still edit all kinds of video, even on LumaFusion. This is a video that I was working on in 2020, if you're wondering. Don't worry about performance. This has an A12X, which is pretty much equivalent to the year after's iPhone 11 Pro. Since this is an X processor, it is better than the A12 found in the iPhone XS. So this is definitely very good on performance. I used an iPhone X in May of 2021, and I had no issues with performance, and that had an A11, so this will definitely be really good for the next couple of years. Plus, the iPad Air 2 from 2014 is still getting updates, we've probably already heard, but still, that is a testament to how good Apple actually is with their updates. You might want to watch out for the battery though, as mine is pretty worn down. It has 375 cycles, Coconut battery reports 81% battery health, and it does drain pretty fast when you're watching video or especially doing something more demanding. And of course you gotta realize you might want more storage. 256 is fine for me. So we've already went over the basics. Most of this stuff depends on which model you buy, or which seller you buy from, especially cosmetic condition. Mine was only used in Apple cases, so the edges are really beat up, but the screen and the back are pretty much mint condition, with almost no damage at all on both the display glass and the back. It had a slight bend back in March of 2020, but I actually bent that out with a pile of books. And the charge port does have a ton of wear on it from every time it's been plugged in. And of course you're going to have damage on any device, but this one, especially in the space gray color, just shows damage way easier. Looking at the device itself, there is a lot of amazing design features. It has a nice, kind of rounded, but still squared off design, and the display is amazing. Not a lot of bezel, 120Hz, goes really bright, and it also gets pretty dim if you want that. It's a great resolution, and I think that you would love this display. It's got a nice camera on the back, which is about the same as the iPhone XRs if you care about that. It does have USB-C, thankfully, on an iPad, which is just great. You can do a lot of fast charging stuff, you can do all kinds of data transfer. It's just super nice to have USB-C on such a portable device from Apple. And of course, you get everything that the previous iPads have had, including those amazing speakers, which for media consumption are actually good. They don't compare to actual real speakers, but they're really nice for a pair of mobile speakers pretty much. So we get Face ID too. This was the first iPad to ever include Face ID. My downsides to this product I've already kinda went over. They're really limited to which seller you buy from. If you buy an Apple refurbished model, you won't have any issues relating to cosmetic damage or battery wear or any of that. And I think this is a great deal if you're trying to get an iPad Pro, but you don't want to buy the newest model because the M1 processor is kind of useless. And another pretty big issue about the new models are the 16 gigabytes of RAM is not usable. I'll get into that in a minute, but this device can go for around $500 to $800, and the new 12.9-inch iPad Pro goes for around $1,100. You're going to save probably half once you get this configured, And genuinely, I think this is worth it, because everything that you do on this is going to be almost identical in experience to the new ones. The LiDAR scanner does not make that much of a difference, and you can still buy the Magic Keyboard case from Apple, put this iPad in it, and it will be perfectly fine. In a lot of ways, this iPad's LCD display is better than the newer iPad's mini LED display, since the newer iPads use one with very few dimming zones. If you look at the mini LED display on a MacBook Pro, it's very good, but from what I've saw, the new iPad Pro just does not have that good of a panel. So unless you really want to try that mini LED display, I would not recommend actually buying a new iPad, or unless you need that LiDAR sensor for whatever you're doing, which, in my opinion, there's probably like 2 people who need that, but if you need it, then go for it. So yeah, this is definitely an iPad that I would recommend. It's been really good for me, and I think that you'll like it if you want a nice iPad. But more on that RAM situation, iOS can only really allocate 12 gigabytes of RAM, at least iOS 15, and the new iPad Pros, some models have 16 gigabytes of RAM, and the base model, I believe, has 8. iOS apps can only use 5 gigabytes of RAM before they crash, which is pretty much why it's useless to buy one of the new iPad Pros for the new RAM. 6 gigabytes is more than enough, since apps can only take up 5 gigabytes apparently. And yeah, so that's why I recommend this iPad. If you need a good iPad for a good amount of money, but you're also saving a lot of money, then buy this. Thank you for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed, and goodbye.